And today, I'm not going to be so much with you. We're having the big boss who is going to be taking over very soon. Before he takes over, I want to thank everybody again and welcome the host, Femi Boyede. I'll be reading his profile later. Let him welcome everybody first. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Femi Boyede.
Thank you very much, Lady K. And on behalf of the team, I join you in welcoming everybody to today's business. It's business because there's just so much to talk about. And not a bad talk where it's endlessly one complaint after the other. This person, this leader is not doing this right, and so on. Today we want to brainstorm and come up with solutions to our previous wailings and moanings and groanings, and see how this can go to the think tank of the incoming administration in a way as to be able to position Nigeria and her exporters. Lady K, you got it spot on when you said today's one is going to be very, very different. We're happy that it will be different. I saw that indication yesterday. Somebody registered from a French-speaking country and asked by email if we were going to be able to provide interpretation. So just to prepare your minds, if you see me summarizing points in French during this session, it will be for our Francophone audience. And I think that we will continue to foray into virgin land, virgin territory, so to say. So is the hope that with talking trade, Nigeria's export will continue to forge into other frontiers. Again, welcome. We're setting the agenda. We're trying to put our thoughts together, and I believe that with the very eminent, very versatile, very experienced panelists that we have today, and with players who are as anxious as you people here to get a grasp and make profit from trading profitably internationally, I believe that we will have quite a bucket full of very serious points and action plan for the incoming administration. On that note, Lady K, I hand over back to you to launch us off. Once you give us the go-ahead, we'll talk.
Thank you so very much. So on this note, I'm going to be introducing our panelists today. We are having the best brains, and you will notice that they are retired, but not tired. Yeah, retired but not tired. They're still very super active. And not only that, I will start off with a Yoruba proverb that says, what an old man, an elderly man sees while seated, the young ones that climb on top of Mountain Kilimanjaro can never see. So we are going to be feeding off their experiences. I will be introducing them not in a particular order. I'll start with Dr. John Isemede. He's a former Director General at the National Chamber of Commerce Industry, Mines and Agriculture, NACCIMA. His profile is extremely very rich, just like others. So we have tried to summarize as much as we can. He's an experienced national expert with a demonstrated history of working in the international trade and development industry. He's skilled in negotiation, business, planning, management, risk management, and strategic planning. A strong community and social services professional with a Master of Business Administration, MBA, national expert on value, managing the value chain activities for both the local and export market. Director at NACCIMA, Export Group, Head Dangote Group, Export and African Operations, Dangote Lagos, Export Operations and New Market Development for the group. He has over 25 years experience in both public and private trade sectors with good publications on business in Africa. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, Jobrier.
Oui,
and the next person, honestly, I tried so much to summarize this. It's just not so possible. So bear with me that we have Dame Dr. Omolara Ololade Akanji, retired Director of Trade and Exchange, Central Bank of Nigeria. Dr. Mrs. Omolara Ololade Akanji worked with the Central Bank of Nigeria as a Director, Trade and Exchange Department with the responsibility of ensuring the management of the foreign exchange market and efficient conduct of the trade regulations such as the International Trade Finance, Trademark Practices Committee, and the conduct of the Wholesale Dutch Action and Bureau Change Liberation. Dame Akanji retired from the CBN in December 2007 and was recalled to the CBN as a consultant to the Governor on Statistics during 2008 to 2011. She's an ICC certified trainer on Incoterms and other ICC rules, a certified trainer in global corporate governance and leadership for IFC, FITC, a honorary member of the Chartered Institute of Bankers, a member of the Nigerian Institute of Management, fellow and certified member of Cost Management, certified member of the International Consultants, fellow of the Institute of Information Management, FIIM, a member of the International Center for Emerging Technology, ASET Joint Working Group, Vice Chairman of Banking Commission, ICC Nigeria, and also a part of the ISBP 745 drafting group. She recently concluded her tenure as an independent director of Sterling Bank PLC and an independent director of InterSwitch Company. She is the chief executive officer of Sofmax Consulting Limited. She graduated from University of Ibadan and had a master's from the University of Reading, Berkshire, UK. She had a postgraduate in statistics from the School of Mathematics at the University of Kent, Canterbury, UK. She had a PhD in finance from the European American University, Dominican Republic. She's an alumni of Harvard School of Governance with certificate in trade and monetary policy. She has attended over 5 executive training at the Harvard Business School, ranging from negotiation to strategic thinking and effective board management. We welcome you, Dr. Omolara Ololade Akanji. Thank you for joining, ma'am.
Thank you for having me.
And we have Mr. Abdullahi Sidi Aliyu, retired Director, Export Development and Incentives, NEPC. Is a retired Director, Export Development and Incentives, NEPC. He boasts of over 30 years of public service career in export promotion and development. His experiences include, but not limited to, economic planning. He's an officer and senior research officer with Federal Capital Development Authority, FCDA, and the National Directorate of Employment. He has over 30 years with the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC, where he retired in 2020, having served for 10 years as a director. He holds a BSc degree in economics, a master's degree in development studies, and over the years, he has acquired an in-depth understanding of export business, including export trends, challenges, opportunities, multilateral and bilateral trade challenges, African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, Export Competency Development Capacity Building, Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, AFCFTA, and so on. We hereby welcome Mr. Abdullahi Sidi Aliyu. Thank you for joining, sir. Please unmute yourself and say hello. You are muted.
Hello, it's a pleasure being small.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
And we have the convener, the big boss, Femi Boyede, CITP, International Trade Consultant. He's the president of Convener Global Services, Inc., Canada, among others. He's an international consultant, enterprise development strategies, private sector management, policy formulation and advocacy, organizational improvement. He has extensive experience in the international trade domain. He's passionate in export business development and trade promotion, proactive in public-private discussions on business environment, enterprise development, and trade reforms. He has traveled to numerous regions around the globe to support the exchange of products and services. He's the current president of Convener Global Services, Inc., Canada, Chief Executive Officer and Lead Consultant of Convener Ventures Limited, Nigeria. He has made positive impact in Nigerian Non-Oil Export Conference, Exhibition, and Awards, NECCA Limited, GTE, Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, Trade and Enterprise Network. He has served in the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, FMITI, and the GTA Trade Enthusiast Network, Canada. Femi is a diplomatic and is a diplomat and speaks many languages, which include French, English, Hausa, Lingala, Nupe, and Yoruba languages. He has hands-on experience in managing export development programs, and is accomplished in expanding business service markets. He's a Nigerian Canadian, and as a member of the Nigeria and Canada Business Network, he promotes trade relations between Canada, the USA, and Africa with a focus on Nigeria. You are welcome, Femi Boyede, to this wonderful program.
Thank you very much. It is my honor.
Thank you so very much. So at this junction, I want to pass the baton to our panelists today. I'm passing the baton to Femi Boyede to moderate this very wonderful session. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you again, our beautiful Lady K. And once again, I welcome those who joined after the previous welcome. By the time we go into the serious business of the day, the luxury will not be there again to welcome. So please, you can pass on to whoever is coming in after this particular welcome. Yeah, I welcome you all. And just like I said earlier on, we are seeing participants from across the globe. I can tell you for free that Nigeria's commercial representative in South Africa is on this call. I saw when he was admitted in. Your Excellency, we welcome you. So many others. If I started to name one by one, then we will not live here. The business of the day is quite simple. I will start with what we all know and what some of us that I know on this platform have been on since the past 30 years or so, trying to preach the gospel of an export-driven economy, because the truth is just that there is no alternative to it. Export remains the most ready solution to the current fluctuating exchange rates and depleting foreign reserves of Nigeria. Export remains the immediate solution to the difficulty of Nigerian parents in sourcing the foreign currency to pay for the fees of their children that they have sent abroad. Export remains the only solution to people going for medical attention and what have you, who will probably need to, these days you apply for BTA, you are on the queue for probably 4 months and stuff. If we had an export-driven economy where export is the second language of everybody, and it is very possible to be, then the stress on foreign exchange coming from only one source will be removed. That's the reason why we are here. And we have sung this song so much, this song, S-U-N-G, this song, S-O-N-G, so much that it looks like our larynxes are beginning to falter. But we will do it one more time for the love of country. And hopefully, whatever it is that we're doing today will be passed on to the think tank of the incoming administration. So, like Lady K said, we're not making a presentation. We are talking to issues, and hopefully our panelists will help us to bring compact solutions that are presentable as strategies. I need to assure you that whatever we're doing today will definitely get to the destination that we are aimed for. So in preparing for moderation, I just, in no particular order, tried to list a few of the limitations to Nigeria's export growth. I have, in the area of policy, I think there are too many policy somersaults. In the area of understanding of the importance of export, I think it is still limited. I have had discussions at what I would call the very highest levels of the executive in Nigeria. And I'm usually shocked when they say, what do you mean by incentives? This EEG, Shebi, it is dash that government is just dashing money to exporters. After all, export itself is a profitable business. I observe that over the years, and very deplorably as of this moment, the only, well, let me say the most functional export support instrument in Nigeria, the Export Expansion Grant, apparently no longer features in the national budget. I think the last time that it featured was about 3 years ago, when a paltry 2 billion naira was allocated for Export Expansion Grant. And I think some of us questioned at that time who this was for. Because if a company is to earn EEG and this company is performing well, I can tell you off my head right now, 20 Nigerian companies that if it is actually EEG that they are waiting for, they will qualify for anything between 5 and 20 billion naira support on an annual basis. So when you bring out 2 billion, which I understand actually never gets to the NEPC. In terms of logistics, you will understand the International Trade Center in Geneva described export business as economic warfare, where competition is the most fierce. And all countries equip their foot soldiers, that is the exporters, with the most potent arsenal that they can develop. And if at that level, we understand export as a competitive, fierce battlefield, it is good that we are having this session today in order to sensitize the incoming managers of the Nigerian economy. Are we going to be looking, for example, towards proposing, I don't know, NEPC already has an export development fund. Should we be looking at an export revival intervention fund or something? I don't know. We want to look at the effectiveness of the policies that are rolled out by the Central Bank of Nigeria. A lot of these draconian, a lot of them, as they will say in my Bible, it says you are asking amiss. Amiss means it is not articulate, it is ambiguous, it has no basis or support argument. So should we then be looking at what can work? Again, we'll be looking at, during this discussion, the prevalence of the silo orientation of the agencies, the trade support institutions in Nigeria, where you have, on the one hand, you might have 20 agencies doing almost the same thing. Export sensitization, export readiness, capacity building, made in Nigeria, export-oriented exhibitions, and everybody applies a part of their budget to this. We will be looking at the possibility of proposing a review of the existing acts that set up and that that direct the operations of ministries, departments, and agencies, to see how they can be made to streamline and work together. There definitely need to be a streamlining of mandates. Yeah, Nigeria has suddenly is now the country where politics is actually a business. Politics, I thought, was supposed to be a service to the people, and the businessmen in the politics sector look at appointments as rewards for their contribution to the installation of power, whether it be at federal government, state, or local government level. And so you find out that in the composition of boards, people are given depending on the parties they belong to, not necessarily because of what they know. Is it okay to propose to the incoming administration to strike a balance between technocracy and political compensation, wherein your first qualification, even if you are a card-carrying member, I am very, very sure that every party in this country does have people who are knowledgeable about business and who, therefore, can go to represent their parties, divisions of their parties on the boards of, especially, I'm more concerned about trade support institutions, rather than just have people who are there to recover the money that they spent in helping the government, in quotes, to come to power. So the issues are plenty. The fact still remains very, very germane that it takes 3 months for a product of a Nigerian micro small enterprise to move from Nigeria, from Apapa or from Mile 2 to Banjul in the Gambia. Banjul is a hub for the distribution of Nigerian goods in that part of West Africa. With Nigeria being now not just a signatory, but has ratified the operation of the AFCFTA, it will be our business here to be able to suggest to the incoming administration how Nigeria can actually take very, very maximum advantage from this. So, of course, Lady K has introduced the eggheads who will be helping us to shape discussions around these topics today. So for now, I just wanted to throw up all of those points to see how we are going to go about it. Please, as a participant, we assure you that today, more than ever before, you will have the opportunity to ask the questions, to make your own views, and more importantly, usually advocacy is more potent when it is evidence supported. So for you players in the industry, I think it is an opportunity for you to, one or two or three of you, to come up and let us know how some of the policies, some of the operations, some of the challenges have impacted your business one way or the other. So when we talk about MDAs, you usually understand ministries, departments, and agencies. So it is not an us versus them thing. And so I believe that we can see people on the call today who have also held the position of leadership in chambers of commerce and in private sector groupings. That's why we have Dr. John Isemede, a former Director General of NACCIMA. I can see Bosun Sholari, who was head of export group of Lagos Chamber of Commerce and has been active in this field. And this is, so I invite you all to please make a contribution, and we trust that at the end of it, we will have a very meaningful presentation to the incoming administration. Before we plunge in, I think I would be inviting the technical team. They usually have one interlude or the other that they tantalize us with. Thank you. Welcome back. And we're going straight into the business. Dr. Isemede, you have not only written books, you have gone across Africa as a what do they call them now? As an itinerant trader, and have held positions
not trader, beyond trader.
I mean, I knew you as far back as your days at the Lever Brothers, Nigeria, before it became Unilever, and then Promasidor and what have you. Can you share with us in 1 or 2 minutes why the new incoming administration must prioritize export if the economy is to re-emerge?
Thank you very, very much. And participants and viewers across the globe. The assignment given to me is that things have to work. And as experts like us, some of us have been in the export business for close to 40 years. I have written books used by the best institutions in the world, and I have worked in more than 27 countries. That is the time now people like us have to stand at the back and guide the younger ones. In the first place, what of membership? Institute of Export UK, Ghana, Nigeria, and so on and so forth. How are we going to work? Nigeria got independent in 1960, and we have been in this business. Why are we not recording successes like other countries? As at the time we got independent, it was only 50 million people. Today we have 200 million plus, with over 600 agreements. Who is driving the policy is the question. There is nowhere in the world where we don't have political parties. Political parties are marketers. They come, sell their ideas and all that, and sign a social contract, which is manifesto. Why are things not working in Nigeria? One, if you assemble, the population of Nigeria is 210, and the jobless or whatever, the unemployed, if you assemble them in one place, they be the fourth largest country in Africa with over 133 million. And the painful aspect of it, apart from the debt, as of today, we have a debt, no, in 2015, we had a debt profile, means and equal central bank of 789. And today it's over 23 trillion. How are we going to change? It's because of export. Tell me how we succeeded. When you talk of Sudan, we come out. When you talk of America, we come out. We were given the best. Look at the letter I used to get from Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It was called Ministry of External Affairs at that time. And these are things that will protect us wherever we go and come back. Boyede can give you a very good example of how we're able to stop a meeting in Dakar being sponsored, being organized by the Belgian government. So the second level is not just because you contribute money for ABCD to acquire position. There is nowhere in the world where people don't work together. We need ministers like Agaga. I can give you the list of ministers in the First Republic, in the Second Republic, in the Third Republic. Now we're in the Fourth Republic. Look at the team of General Olusegun Obasanjo. Look at the team of the immediate past, and where are they today? We are proud of Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala. We are proud of ABCD. Jobs should not be given to people based on contribution. We are tired of running an IOU government that because you have made this, you should occupy this. So let me round up. If we have a minister who will come out and talk to me the way I am talking to you, we all clap. When I attend functions, if somebody is reading from paper, because of my age, I won't go up and say, you should refund me my money, because anybody can read from paper. Some of us give examples and tell you areas where we have worked. Our export manager of Unilever in 20 countries, in Calbec in about 6-7 countries, set up the Dangote. So why are people like us, Boyede, Madam and other, Sidi Ali, even if we are not giving position, we will be recognized. The case of Sudan, I will share it with you later. It is wrong for Nigeria with foreign policy to tell people to go to Egypt. Hadn't be, I went to Sudan by road through Chad. No visa was required by Chad. These are the things that we should look inward and tell the incoming government that this is what we are owing. Look at what we have on ground. Look at the experts. We don't need to go to other countries. We have experts in Nigeria can bail us out. Based on the prelude he has given, the only hope is export, export, export. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Isemede. Quite a number of punchy suggestions there. I will be moving to Dr. Omolara Akanji. I'm sorry, Ma, I'm not putting you on the hot seat, but I remember very well my very first encounter with you. I led a team of directors from Switzerland, and I think that was when Nigeria for the first time was talking about export of services. And I still remember how vibrant that encounter was and all that came subsequently to Nigeria as a result of the path that we're charting forward at that time under your watch. With you as Director, Trade and Exchange, I would say during your tenure, we had a balanced, what do you call it, exchange environment. We had very provable, tangible, and visible growth in Nigeria's export. And I'm not too sure that we had a sizable number of policy somersaults. And policies at that time, I think, were thoroughly thought out and in consultation with the potential beneficiaries or victims. Madam, what do you think has changed? I feel bad asking the question because I'm bleeding inside me because a lot. Please go ahead. What has changed?
A lot has changed. A lot has changed. A lot has changed. We're talking about today's export we are emphasizing, but I am going to be inclusive in my discussion. We're looking at international trade, as it were. The international trade is both import and export. At that time that we were trying to ensure that we play safe and ensure that we have enough export revenue in our reserve. We were not looking at only hardcore export. We are also looking at services in terms of export. And so our import dimension was also quite scrutinized because we were not encouraging import of those things that can be put together in Nigeria, those things that can be done in Nigeria and produced in Nigeria. We were not encouraging them. And if you look at the trade policy, it is a situation of beggar my neighbor's situation.
Sure.
If you are strong in a particular commodity, you export that commodity, and where you are weak, you import such commodity. For example, we are importing a lot of petroleum. We are importing a lot of petroleum, while we are not exporting enough agriculture, which is our strength. I want to say it is our strength more than even oil. The oil, as this carbonization thing policy is coming up globally, the oil will dwindle, but agriculture had not been quite encouraged. And so, in terms of trade is against Nigeria, we have more import than export. So we try to balance the terms of trade. Looking at our balance of payment, we also look, we use statistics to trend our balance of payment. I want to tell you that every day of my sitting on that desk, I don't close earlier than 12 midnight, because foreign exchange markets is 24/7 globally. As a market is closing, another market is opening. And you trend it, you see your balance of payments. Balances as per latest advice. It comes to central bank in the midnight. So you will see how much we have in reserve in terms of money. And then you will have to ensure that you prioritize what will go to the market on a regular basis. And it takes a dedicated desk officer to do that on a daily basis. You must be able to prioritize, and you see the flows, the services flows that comes into Nigeria. You see the foreign direct investors coming into Nigeria. And because that is available, we were able to ensure that we put a policy in place that will say that when you bring your money into Nigeria, that money must stay in Nigeria for a whole year before you can say you want to repatriate. But all those policies are somersaulted now. So people will come in, when they see treasury bill price is going up, they'll flow in money to make money and flow it back the next month or in the 90 days. So those are the kind of thing that, the treasury management of foreign exchange flows is very important. And that is missing. That is missing.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ma. We will still come back to you on one or two things that flow directly from the central bank. Dr. Alhaji Malam Sidi Aliyu, my Oga, we come to you now.
Yeah.
30 years plus trying to develop exports, and I know that you were in membership of, and at some points also led teams that try to formulate programs that will drive this message home. Now you are in retirement. Looking back, do you think there are some of those things that you tried to birth as a director, export development and incentives, director, corporate strategy, at some point the second in command at the Nigeria Export Promotion Council? I'm very sure there must be one or two things that you wish government had listened to and had taken up beyond rhetorics. Please, will you share one or two of such moments or ideas or concepts with us?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Boyede. Okay, it's a pleasure once more to be here. And just as you rightly pointed out, export promotion in Nigeria is something that has started for quite a long time. let me even say as far back as 1976 or thereabout, when the Nigerian Export Promotion Council was established, the main objective was to see how non-oil exports will develop, how non-oil export will be promoted to enable non-oil export achieve a certain position in the Nigeria's gross domestic product and foreign exchange earning capacity. To my surprise, just as you pointed out, we are still looking at commodity exports as our main export products in Nigeria. We have not really done much in terms of manufactured products, value-added products. And it's also a pity that both yourself, Mr. Boyede and Isemede, had worked in companies that were prominently
exporters
promoting and executing exports. But what is happening to those companies? You'll be surprised that a lot of them have really gone under. So that is why when I became so interested when I was invited for this event, that we have to concentrate on forging out recommendations for the incoming administration. Quite okay, there are so many things that need to be articulated. And most of these things, if the government is really serious, they will be able to change the fortunes of non-oil exports in Nigeria. Let me just give you some few examples. Initially, we were having, the best way you can promote export, apart from creating the enabling environment, is to provide a set of incentives that have meaning for export development. Now, if you look at the manufacturing side of export, those incentives that were meant to promote export manufacturing, they are no longer in existence. The pioneer status is just one that I believe is still being implemented by the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission. Mm-hmm. But if we talk of the duty drawback scheme, the duty suspension scheme, mm-hmm. These are schemes that could have aided manufacturing for export in a very easy way. You have raw materials that you need to import. Probably there are not enough of such raw materials in Nigeria. You need to augment by importation, or probably your production line is essentially established to use foreign raw materials. Those raw materials are not coming into Nigeria to be sold. They are coming into Nigeria to be turned into manufactured products that will be exported. So that is why the duty drawback was very key and germane. But unfortunately, that duty drawback island is still in the books of the Nigerian Customs Service, but I don't think anybody is implementing it. And also, there are some complementary schemes like the duty suspension scheme. Okay, fine. I want to produce for export. Let me bring in some raw materials to facilitate my cash flow. Suspend the payment of the duty. Let me produce and export. Then if there are any that are sold locally, you can now establish that duty associated with that and I will pay for it. Then another thing, Femi, that is still baffling my mind. How is it that since the abolition of the commodity boards or the marketing boards, up to now, Nigeria has not really achieved that level of commodity export as was the case during that period, which means we were hasty in taking that decision, or even if the decision was right then, there is a need to really go back, study it very well, and see how a semblance, it may not come as a commodity board per se, but it should come in a way that will promote the export of commodities in Nigeria rather than leaving it to the individual exporters. The individual exporters are facing quite a number of challenges. And if you allow them on their own to do that, the burden on them will be too much that we cannot generate the necessary volume and capacity that is needed for commodity export to make any impact in Nigeria. Ghana, up to now, is still operating the cocoa board. And I don't think we have anything like that in Nigeria for now. And that is why we realize that despite our position in cocoa production worldwide, coffee production worldwide, cashew, etc., we are just going down and down and down. So honestly, Boyede, I would recommend that at the end of whatever we are discussing, we need to bring out a small communique to present to government, because government has to show all level of seriousness to promote non-oil export in Nigeria. And that is the only way for the survival of this economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my esteemed panelists, for your, what I say, opening remarks. And I'm very sure that these are already resonating well with the participants. I hope that people are taking notes and they are actually eager to begin to to interject and let us expand some of these ideas that you have taken up. I have sent a message to one of the participants because he's occupying a position of somewhere that is one of the things that Sidi Aliyu just mentioned. I would say, maybe in part agreement with you, that we cannot scrap without replacing. And scrapping one thing because probably it's not working should be understood as a response to something better that has already been thought of or has been created. And here I'm talking about the scrapping in those days. You remember Sidi Aliyu, that Nigeria Export Promotion Council had 6 commercial offices in 6 very sensitive countries around. I think there was one in Jeddah, there was one in New York, there was one in the UK,
in Belgium,
one in Abidjan,
there was one in Belgium,
and one in Brussels.
Brussels.
And then one in Brussels. Now, in one fell swoop, they were all scrapped off. And till today, I don't know, apart from the desk in Taiwan, China, I don't know that the federal government ever thought of that. From my experience in Canada, and I know Lady K and Mr. Ibrahim Haruna will readily understand this, the Canadian government actually has a department where the head is the equivalent of a minister. It is called the Office of the Trade Commissioner. And the Trade Commissioner Service of Canada has operational offices in 198 countries around, has 198 operational offices in almost every country of the world. So we scrapped that also, just like we scrapped Cocoa Board. I am hoping that part of our recommendations here that we want to hand over to the incoming administration will be to reconsider some of the things that worked. And that's why the question I put to Dr. Omolara Akanji, if they worked before, we should stop this orientation of an incoming government, a new government, deliberately disconnecting itself from all the policies and strategies of the predecessor, and then spending the first 2-3 years trying to craft its own strategies. And at this point, too, I would like to invite Dr. Akanji. I think there are still 1 or 2 things that you were about telling us. Yes, it is okay to regret or to RUE what has happened in the past and did not work, but it is more important for us. The business of today is to use the experience of the past to actually propose something that works in the future. Madam, in terms of contribution, of raising the contribution of non-oil exports to national GDP. Like I said, I think export does have a role. Yes, I agree with you. International trade does have a role. Some of those policies that were in place when you were there, Sidi Aliyu has mentioned a few, But we also had the manufacture in bond scheme. We had the export processing factory status.
Yes.
We have, and then we had the Nigerian Committee on Trade Procedures, NITPRO, which was more or less an interministerial that also included the Central Bank of Nigeria. Madam, do you think we need to revisit some of these institutions and programs? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyede. I think you are just taking it from my mouth. You see, those are trade policies, but they are leaning towards non-oil because we are looking at our own environment. How do we strengthen our exports? And that is why those sections, those policies were put in place, and they were interministerial. Some of them, central bank sit as the chair of such committee or group, while any Nigeria Export Promotion Council also sits as the board or the chair of some of this committee. I think we should go back and revisit those committees that worked, and they will still work in the sense that you need a focal point to be able to trade. In any environment, we are looking at export. As we are looking at export, some other countries are looking at import from Nigeria. So in any environment, in any economy, trade is the oil that grows that economy. It's either the export or import. We are looking at export now because of our reserve position. At the same time, we need this institutional group to be able to have a structured approach to trade policy. Most of the trade policies that we have been disintegrated and they were not consistent. There have been a lot of policies somersault. We need to go back. NIPC, NEPC, Central Bank, Ministry of Finance. There's what they call Murphy in Ministry of Finance. It's a Ministry of Finance Investments
Incorporated.
Incorporated. Yes, Murphy has to be, brought into all these things because, the foreign direct investment, when it's coming in, they have to have what we call certificate of capital importation, which was what I created when I was on the desk, because some investors want to bring in their money, but they want to be sure, since with that policy of saying that you bring in your money to invest in Nigeria, it must stay a whole year before you can take it out. So they needed a certificate, and that certificate became a tradable certificate. If they want to take loan, if the fund comes in through GTB, for example, and they want to take loan from UBA, that certificate is what they use to go and take loan from UBA. So all those kind of policies have to be brought back to ensure that trade in itself, and in particular, non-oil export thrives. Because that is what builds up our balance of payment and our reserve.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Dr. John Isemede.
Yeah.
I'm bringing a completely new issue now. Every economy that is currently thriving, I would illustrate with Singapore. They probably respect and depend on public-private partnerships.
Right.
Singapore has an economic team that is made up of 15 most successful operators. So it's not a standing team. It depends on your result and performance in the past year. Of these 15, I think only 2 are government. Every other member is a practitioner and player. But it does look like in Nigeria, the current Nigeria, let me say, it does look like it is an us versus them thing, where the public institution prefers to be advertised and publicized as doing it. So just like part of what you said in your opening statement, anyway, John, how do we get the incoming administration to revert to escalating public-private partnerships? Because this is what works in other regions of the world. To include, to borrow the word from Dr. Akanji, to have an inclusive orientation in our economic operations. Dr. Isemede?
Thank you very much. You know what PPP is all about? Public-private partnership. In other parts of the world, it is the private sector that runs the economy. Mm-hmm. But here, it is the politicians. We attend meetings and seminars. The way they talk to us, they don't talk to us in other countries. When I was the DG of NACCIMA, I go to Benin Republic or Senegal as the DG because the Chamber of Commerce owns EcoBank. I'll be given a very big seat. And when I go and meet a minister, they will tell me that the Chamber of Commerce generate jobs and pay taxes to government. Mm-hmm. So the situation in Nigeria, let me give you a very good example. That people were calling me names during the time of Africa Continental Free Trade. Government set up a committee of 20 members, only 2 members from the private sector. The question I asked, I am not looking for position. I am prepared to serve my country. Mm-hmm. What is the role of ABCD in this committee? When we sign the ECOWAS ETLS, or when we sign the ECOWAS agreement, when we started work on the uprising, the banks, government officials were at the back seats. Even after signing the Africa Continental Free Trade, take your seat at the back, let the private sector, the players be at the front, give them targets. Yeah. I was giving names. For 3-4 years now we have signed. Have we exported 1 container? You are giving an example of Singapore. I've been to Japan. I did a lot of research in Singapore, in Malaysia, in Singapore, and all that. The situation there is that export is a culture. That is not the story here. We are saying what they have to pass to the economic administration, it should not be an IOU government. Because you have contested election and pay, you go and be a minister, or you go and be an ambassador. When I was the DG of NACCIMA, I signed an agreement with Foreign Affairs. No Nigerian must leave this country after taking a bow at the National Assembly to go and represent me outside this country. He should be able to sell made in Nigerian goods. He should be able to go to the port and know what ecosystem is all about. Boyede, you are looking at me. We organized a seminar in Abuja, and the banks did not even know what this is. So let me round up, just 1 minute. When we had this thing in Namibia, it was made in Nigerian product. What is petroleum giving to you? What is education sector giving to you? What is agri giving to you? What is solid minerals giving to you? Which template are we running to run business in Nigeria? What is the role of CBN incentive? Incentive that is not backed by law. Thank you.
Thanks very much, John. And I'm getting very worried that we want to bring in our participants to also contribute. So I'll make this the last question, and it's coming to you, Sidi Aliyu. Export development. You know, very many times I have maybe to the at the risk of being misunderstood by the leadership of the NEPC, I had always talked about export promotion as it is today in Nigeria being at the detriment of export development. So if you don't develop, what do you promote? If we don't have the product, why are we promoting? And we had an example during the administration of Minister Idris Waziri at the Ministry of Commerce. We went around the whole world promoting cassava, and the Federal Executive Council actually allocated huge sums for the promotion of cassava. But by the time that people actually went into cassava production, there was no market. So promotion is currently going on at the detriment of development. Development including the establishment and sustenance with government support of export trading houses, a concept that NEPC brought forward that has worked, but that is now already on the downward slope because there are there's no more support. I wish I could go on, but I also need to caution myself. Malam Sidi, what should incoming administration do to develop?
Yes, there are a lot of things that need to be actually discussed here, and of which I don't think we have the time. You may remember you made an observation about the commercial debts that were abrogated without any meaningful substitute. Now, the problem, if you look at it holistically, those commercial debts were to create additional market access for made in Nigerian products. Now, if you create those market access and you come back home, we don't have the capacity to now produce. We don't have the capacity to supply what is being demanded. So I think this government, the incoming government, should really focus on addressing those domestic problems. There are a lot of them. We have a serious supply-based problem, of which I have highlighted in my presentation, because initially I thought I was going to make a presentation. Our supply-based constraints need to be really identified and tackled. Then, the little market access that has been created again, we need to have the necessary export infrastructure to now facilitate and make meaningful meaning out of the export that are going out from Nigeria. It's not this tidbit from one company supplying 20 metric tons, another company with a capacity of 50. No, we need volumes. And when you are talking of volumes, we have to holistically look at those factors that will generate the volume, and then what infrastructures that need to be put in place to facilitate the repatriation of Nigerian goods to the established market. Those are very key. And another question that, even though it was John Isemede that was asked to respond to it, I just remember that in the past regimes, there used to be a government that was really taking the private sector into consideration. Simply by looking at, if you look at the Man Export Group, the input of Man Export Group is always coming last before any budget is announced. So if the Federal Ministry of Finance identify and promulgate a budget, before that budget is passed, the Manufacturer Association of Nigeria will be given the leeway to provide inputs, because we don't want a policy that will even lead to the closure, even a single company, no matter how remote that company is. The survival of these companies, the survival of these industries are germane for the development and survival of the Nigerian economy. So there are cases where some of these policies were later found to be detrimental to the activities of some of the companies in Nigeria. And finally, they had to fold off, some even to move away to other countries like Ghana, etc. You understand? Even some of the policies that the CBN brought up recent. So some of those policies are disincentive for export. So really, the government has to look at a way, or they have to create a think tank that will be advising them from time to time on domestic policies that will promote and sustain the level of economic activity that had already been generated. Because even if you are taking a foreign investment, for instance, how many people will come and invest when they are not really sure that that investment would be safeguarded and protected?
Exactly.
You understand? You come to set up, just one example. There is a company that came to establish a polyester yarn manufacturing factory in Port Harcourt, simply because of the LMA petrochemical industry that was to come up there. Now, this company, Horizon Fibers, if I still remember, were producing polyester fiber. But then at the same time, government now created an environment whereby the imported polyester fibers are far cheaper than what is being produced by this company. So what do you expect the company to do? The company has to fold up. So please, I think we need to really identify domestic policies that will create the enabling environment for the sustainability of the already existing companies and then create the enabling environment for more industries to be established if we're really thinking of an economic growth in the short term. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if we have the time, we'll do a synopsis of the very crucial points that have been raised here today. I think it is time to bring in our participants. That is the role of our wonderful, beautiful anchor, Lady K. I think we'll pause to take a break, and it's Lady K that will be taking over to take us through the participants' contributions. Thank you very much.
Wow, this has been so impactful, insightful, rich. Thank you so very much to all our panelists. Okay, so we are looking at bringing in Mrs. Bosun Sulari, who has been a member of, I would say, Son of the Soil. She has been one of us all along. Please, you have the floor. And please, if you want to make comments or you have questions, you can use the emoji to raise up your hand. Thank you. Please, you have the floor.
Yeah, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for always putting this together, Mr. Femi Boyede. It's been a pleasure being one of you, Lady K. Thank you very much. I have a few just interventions. One, I want to start with TATRIG. We have talked and talked and talked for long. Is it possible if TATRIG cannot become a CSO, civil society? Can we have an arm of TATRIG that can do that job? At NPEN last week, it was said that when Segun Awolowo was the CEO of NEPC, he had a direct link with the government, with the president. Now we are not even sure what happens when, before anyone in NEPC will see the presidency. But if we have a CSO arm, we're not going to fight. All we need to do is we look for how to finance TV shows, or once a while we go to National Assembly. You know, if they keep seeing us on TV and we're saying some of these things we're saying, even if the person who should listen to NEPC is not listening, government will hear it from us. You will see one minister one day and say, these people are saying something, come and say what we're saying. Let us allow the chambers to continue to do the advocacy program. Why we still continue to do this one every month? That's that. Then to the incoming government, bilateral relations, especially within ECOWAS, they need to look into that. The relationship that our traders share with those people, it's terrible. Like I always say, I came back by road from Dakar to Lagos in March. I know what happened on that road. But honestly, what happened on that road will keep happening. If in Nigeria, within Nigerian soil, at Bagji, Badagry, after the water, a distance of less than 200 meters, you have over 30 checkpoints. Out of that 30, custom is more than 10. And everybody is extorting money from everybody. So why will those ones not extort money when they see us? So charity begins at home. And I believe that the incoming government, everything will not be politics, paying back everybody. Because when you have to pay back everybody, you cannot talk to anybody. Then I want to talk about deliberately developing exporters. Last week, too, it was said that Nigeria has 3,000 exporters. How far, how well, nobody knows. But MSMEs, we all have seen what has been in the space now, that they are trying a lot, but they don't have enough funds to be able to go bigger. So if we deliberately look at that sector, and I want to ask these questions, can we cover a part of their logistics? Because by the time you're going to send anything to Ghana, the logistics cost alone, you can't compete with the price. Can we also cover a part of the certification up to 50%? I know NEPC is doing free for people. They have done about 120 HACCI. But can I also tell you that out of those 120, most of those certificates have expired since January of last year. Many of them cannot renew it. So it's as good as they don't have the hassle. Then for NAFDAC, agencies of government where they need to look into, AFCFTA is here. We can't begin to say anything. If you allow only 5 products for MSMEs, what are we going to sell to other countries? Because people will say you don't need NAFDAC, but when you begin to move a certain amount of volume, they won't allow you to pass the airport or the seaport because they will now demand a NAFDAC certificate. For some sometimes we say, find out the requirements of the country you are going to so that you can do what, or they don't reject your goods. Is it difficult for an agency who is in charge of standards to have all these requirements in their purview? So that if I, as an exporter, want to go anywhere, I can go to some and find these things out. Thank you. These are some of the things we need to be talking about. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. And I believe Mr. Boyede is ready with an answer.
Thank you very much, Lady K. Just a quick one. Thank you so much, Bosun. Well, all your contributions have always been very punchy and very well thought out. Yes, we are ready to take on the mantle. The advocacy here has been a lifelong passion of the convener of TATRIG. So with inspiration, motivation, and this kind of public call out from people like you, I think my energy will just be recharged more. We will definitely consider stepping up, so to say, our fight for this sector. And how we do that, God will help us. We will put our heads together. Like I always say, I have the best technical team in the world. We will come out with an action plan. But more importantly, you have raised the issue, and we must have this as part of our topmost recommendations. The making of the Asian tigers, I keep referring to it. Any one of you who can get the book, or you can Google it and get a copy, was the World Bank report of 1993. World Bank report, economic report, the making of the Asian tigers. The word deliberate comes up almost 10 times on every page. So whatever it is that is being done has to be done consciously and with a deliberate orientation to ensure that it works. We took 30 companies to Banjul last year to create an export market outlet for Nigeria MSMEs. This year, I was part of those who participated in the 16th Gambia International Trade Fair. Between SMEDAN and NEPC, they supported a further 40 Nigerian companies to go. But I can tell you, without government support, not one of these companies can sell its product in Gambia. Why? Because it costs 1,500 naira to per kg to air freight from Lagos to Banjul. Okay, let's take a product as simple as I'm looking for a light one. Okay, Master Tea. One of our supporters here is the manufacturer of Master Tea. Master Tea does have the quality and the presentation to compete with any tea anywhere in the world. But Master Tea needs to get to Banjul to be able to capture the northern West African market. At 1,500 naira per kg, the entire bag itself, the cost of freight is more than the cost of the product inside it. The incoming administration obviously will need to be advised to look at export development as a deliberate activity, as a deliberate policy of that administration. That way, most of all of the things that we have said here can actually come in. Lady K, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much. I see Mr. Sidi Aliyu raising up his hand. You want to add to what he just said?
Yes, Lady K. I was going through the chats and I discovered that somebody was raising the question that we've been discussing on policy and nothing about infrastructure. Well, to be frank with you, I agree that we need to say much on infrastructure. And you see, it's not only infrastructure generally. We can also zero down to export infrastructure. Anything that will promote the movement, the repatriation of made in Nigerian products to the destination is something that the government need to really concentrate on. Let me just give you one example, which was raised on our WhatsApp group. Somebody brought up a question that all the airlines that came into Nigeria depart empty because it is cheaper for them to go out empty than carry something, That if you load 1,000 tons of cargo on an aircraft here in Nigeria, you are charged up to 35,000 in fees and taxes. But the same number of goods carted out from Ghana will only demand $4,000. So you see, if this is a problem that has been presented to government, now government need to now sit down and come up with deliberate policy that will get rid of that kind of challenge. So the whole thing is, whether we like it or not, we really need to hammer on government that deliberate policy should be targeted towards promoting non-oil exports in Nigeria. And promoting non-oil exports from Nigeria is both ways. You do it here at the domestic level, and you also do it at the market access level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can see Dr. Omolara Akanji's hand up as well.
Yes, thank you, Lady K. I want to say that the person that mentioned infrastructure is very, very, on point. There's need for effective and efficient facility infrastructure and incentive facility trade to trade by the government at all level of governance. It's not just infrastructure at the port alone. From the point of production to the point of delivery, I think we need to have adequate infrastructure because it's added to the cost of trade. Going by what Auntie said earlier about the cost of moving goods from Nigeria to neighboring country. And again, the tariff and non-tariff barriers that we have, we need to look at the logistic issues because it's also another dimension that is inhibiting non-oil exports. The custom services must be ready to do things in a standardized way. They cannot be a judge and jury in their own environment. So also in the central bank, they cannot be the regulator and also be in the market. They want to sell FX without getting to understand the balance of payment position. They are rationing FX and they are asking exporters that have struggled to make a few foreign exchange to come and sell to them at that kind of rate when the market itself is selling higher than their rates. So, there's need for, diving down, drilling down most of these policies so that it can be, easy for SM&E to trade and do particularly non-oil export. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And before I bring in John Isemede, and I see your hand, Olariwaju Elizabeth, you will speak after John Isemede. Before then, let me read one of the comments from Victoria Oluwasonya. She's at a function right now, so she cannot speak, and she has asked me to read this out. She said, I'm Victoria Oluwasonya, a small cottage business owner in Lagos. The discussion has been very interesting so far, and I'm glad recommendations will be made to the incoming administration. I want to know about the following. I'm concerned that Nigerian products are not competitive on the foreign market. I read a lot of ships going back empty because the cost of moving goods from Nigeria is the highest in Africa. The EEG was given to people who have inside support at NEPC, who we understand share the grant with applicants. It's either that or you rise to embarrass NEPC publicly before you get the grant. I was with Bosun Solari the other day. She asked for the criteria and she was given quickly, called and given some grants. Why should that be? There's no encouragement at all after crossing NAFDAC, SON, MANCAP, FDA red tapes by NMSME, who have put all the works but are stranded because they lack funding and don't also have insiders to access grants from NEPC. Okay, so I've read that out because part of what she's saying are already being treated, so it's better to just treat everything at the same time. You have the floor.
I think I also want to make a quick, very brief response to that. Usually in management, they talk about one cap does not fit all. I'm sorry you experienced that, but I can assure you that my humble or honorable self, or humble and honorable self, I fall into the same group with you. So I don't know if it is a person thing or if there were parameters that people don't understand. I can also assure you that Bosun has responded to this, and she says all the 4 applications from LCCI were rejected. I went back to the then DG, Dr. Muda Yusuf, to complain. He presented the application and 3 were given. I was left back. Later, they brought up a women intervention program where one applied and presented their business plan. I did that and I got a smaller amount, not up to the Export Development Fund. Bosun, thank God for you, you even got a small amount. With all my 30 years of advocacy and championing non-oil export in Nigeria, Mr. Olufemi Boyede, they say it anywhere, never got, even though I applied also, I never got anything as a support for whatever I'm doing. I have not taken anybody to court, and I've not taken them. I'm not saying that you are wrong for saying this out.
I'm a witness, I'm a witness to that story.
So, but just take it that today's session is actually to articulate a way forward for incoming administration. So we didn't get, and we are still living, and we will continue to live and champion this cause. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. John Isemede, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Boyede, you know how much we have committed to travel around the world because of Nigeria. Some of us are not even recognized or given one assignment or the other. We will continue. The truth of the matter is that training is important. Very many of us were trained outside this country. Sidi Ali talking trained. Boyede, myself, we are living this thing. Who is taking over from us? One thing we should realize, we were talking before to come and tell the younger ones. And why we were exporting at that time, because there was CCC, cooperation, coordination, and communication. Today, is there communication between the bank, the NECCIMA of this world, the Post Authority, and all that? So secondly, why some of us succeeded? Because we had the Nigerian National Shipping Line. We had the Nigerian Airways, which I use. Nigerian Airways will carry my goods. Today, our own freight is one of the highest in the world. People talk of infrastructure. We are the least developed sub-region in the world. People sit in their offices, and when some of us come out with templates after traveling from here by road to Senegal, carry Dangote, carry Unilever and all that, people are not ready to listen. Government officials, when you invite them, look at the level of representation. If it's Abuja, they will send level 8 to come and hold meeting with people like us. If it's Lagos, they'll be the last to come. If it's outside this country, people will take us only God knows to go and see their children overseas. Where is the target of those who are running this country? The question we continue to ask, the incoming administration to run this country like a vice chancellor of a university. We know you have a faculty. Let the political party leave the president after swearing in and let him be the president of this country. I want to give you the final example of, please, just 1 minute. This is what I'm working on. What is Nigeria foreign policy? What is the contribution of export to our GDP? We know how much export is contributing to the GDP of other countries. Finally, this is ceramics. A professor has been working on ceramics in Nigeria for the past 30 years. People look at ceramics as mere, what do you call it, a saucer and all that. Nigeria is importing ceramics to the tune of $155 million. That is the one that is documented. And we are talking of creating jobs. This alone can create over 10 million jobs. Agriculture can create over 20 million jobs if we develop the value chain. Time is short, but we have a lot of things to offer. Let the incoming administration look for the retired professors and retired hands. Put them at the back seat. We will support this country.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Elizabeth Olanrewaju, you had your hand up. Are you still there?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, we cannot see you.
Yes.
Hello.
Okay. I'm glad to be here this afternoon.
Okay.
And thank you for the good work. And thank you for sustaining the conversation. But like Madam Sholari has said, we've been talking. I'm sure we're almost 2 years on this conversation. Let's have a roadmap, a technical document of how we want to move forward so that we can have something to point out in another number of months to say this is our achievement over this matter. Also, we can concentrate on a particular country. Thank God you were in Gambia last year. Gambia happens to be my baby, and I started my work from there, so I have a bit of information and knowledge of that environment, and I know they needed a lot of things from Nigeria. We can focus on Gambia and say, okay, this year, all our efforts is going to be towards the Gambia, and we can get it done. There's no way an individual SME can export to the Gambia successfully by air or by shipping a container by themselves. It's better we group them and put the stuff together in a container, which we have discussed in the past, and just have it done. We just have to sit down and say, okay, this is how we are going to move this, so. If you are in agreement, come together. These are your products, and every month we can move a container load. I think that's one of the advice I would want us to give, so that once we perfect that, we're able to overcome a lot of challenges we have spoken about. We're able to see how to work with 2 countries that are English-speaking countries. We can, in fact, from Gambia, we can spread to other neighboring countries, because those other ones do not, like Guinea-Bissau and other countries that are neighboring to them, can still take out of the one we have shipped into Gambia. There's so much that can be done. We're all agreed for one reason or the other, but let's look at the way forward. That might be better. Thank you all. God bless.
Thank you so very much. Very wonderful contribution. Now I yield the floor back to Olufemi Boyede. But before I do that, please use the chat forum to introduce yourself, share the information you are comfortable with. I'm the director of so. I'm joining you from here. My email address, my contact address, if you feel comfortable. But this forum, usually this platform, is usually also for networking. Thank you so very much. I yield the floor to Olufemi Boyede.
Thank you very much. I think we already ate into the time of participants. Please forgive me. And I'm just seeing one notification that I don't want to turn down. I'm just seeing it. I'm sure you guys on the technical team would have seen Alinda. He's actually His Excellency Alinda, Nigeria's trade representative at South Africa. He wants to talk. Please, let's give him 1 minute.
Thank you very much, sir, for the opportunity to speak at this wonderful platform. In fact, each time I see this webinar is being organized, I try to join from wherever I am to ensure that I get value to my work even here in South Africa. I'm sure you can hear me. In fact, I joined the conference around 5 p.m. this evening. I was traveling from Pretoria to go to Joburg for another event, but I wanted to participate. And I think the contribution that I've get so far are just super wonderful. For example, I am in South Africa here, and you see, by the time you look at the trade balance between Nigeria and South Africa, you know yes, a issue is in favor of Nigeria, but what is the figure? The figure is for petroleum products. I mean, crude oil. It doesn't make any economic value. Even though, yes, they will say, yes, there's more money coming in. But I think for me, and I like the idea the last speaker spoke about focusing on a particular country and see how.
Okay, so so that we don't lose time, my own comment is just very, very brief. I acknowledge the very brilliant contributions. I think somebody talked about bilateral relations. And if you recall, in our last webinar, we did talk about the need for economic diplomacy. It used to be part of Nigeria's trade policy and strategy. And I have mentioned it time and again. For those of you living in Canada, I keep saying, for those of us living in Canada, I keep reminding us that whatever you buy from a Nigerian store in Canada is actually out of the magnanimity of CBSA. If you go to CBSA portal, CBSA is Canada Border Service Agency. They work hand in hand with CFIA, Canada Food Inspection Agency, same as FDA in the US. If you go to their portal, there are goods deemed as admissible from every economic partner of Canada. There is not a single one that is deemed admissible from Nigeria. Once it is listed, it can come in without any encumbrances. But okay, they know that Canada does have a very, very large population of Nigerian origin. That's the reason why it's there. Without economic diplomacy, economic shuttle, and what have you, it can't work. The brilliant idea suggested by Elizabeth Nwanko just now about group movement is called groupage, right? Movement of SMEs goods, maybe one container a month, and very brilliant. But you are still going to pass through all the borders and all the checkpoints and toll gates that Bosun talked about in her experience coming from Dakar. The only antidote to that is what retired controller Ogunleye mentioned on our webinar, I think, was it in December or November last year, when he tried to remind us, or maybe February this year, that there is actually a transport code that was developed by ECOWAS, but it's not in use. What is that? But economic diplomacy. We need to intensify that. We need to find the solutions that will be endorsed, accepted, and implemented by all member states, at least of ECOWAS first, if we are saying that we want to be a big player in the African Free Continental Trade Agreement. I think the deliberate development of export has to start that way. And I can tell you that part of what is working in my mind now I'll be discussing this with the technical team after today's meeting, is probably begin to play our role really as a CSO for this sector. My thinking is that we can do a paper to Smidan, who is already aware of the challenges of the SMEs and the NEPC in such a way that we can consider their support maybe once a month to hire a 20-ton truck that will take the goods of Nigerian SME exporters, starting from Apapa, deposit in Cotonou, Lomé, Abidjan, and all that until they get to Dakar. I think this can be a deliberate, going back to the word deliberate, support from the incoming administration. For now, I definitely want to put a pause to my own ideas and contributions and hand over back to you, Lady K, towards the rounding up of this event.
Thank you so very much to the technical team. I'll be calling on Dr. Abdullahi, Mr. Abdullahi, Sidi, Aliyu for your 1-minute comment to round up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lady K. I think my advice for the incoming administration is to build a very strong partnership with the private sector. Because one thing I discover in export promotion is that removing the obstacles, removing the challenges that have been identified is one of the antidote, or it's one of the catalysts that brings about the speedier and sustainable development of the export transaction. Technically, what I'm saying is that the incoming administration should dialogue with the private sector, identify all the problems, and then now using the Boyede's language, create some deliberate policies that are targeted at solving those challenges. Honestly speaking, if you do that within the first 2 years, you will see a remarkable and a significant development and growth of our non-oil export products.
Thank you so very much for making it very brief and impactful. Dr. Omolara, Akanji, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Lady K. I will just quickly mention that we should look at the foreign exchange management in its present mode. It has become a barrier to trade. We need to rejig that and see how we can make it more effective and efficient. And then we should look at creating a roundtable monthly meeting for all stakeholders to discuss and agree on the performance of trade, particularly non-oil export, and chart a way forward for effective and efficient performance of that sector. Then there's this single window application that is yet to come on effectively. It's being run between CBN and customs. The single window facility will help export, in all dimensions. And finally, I want us to revisit and review trade policies that have become obsolete. I'll give you an example. There's this policy on open accounts. It had been banned in Nigeria since 2006 by the CBN. But believe you me, if people are still, trading with open accounts, and they do it in a very smart way. A subsidiary company outside Nigeria will do open accounts without CBN knowing. And so most countries now are allowing open account and digitization. CBN has to come up to speed with what is going on in the international community. Otherwise, our goods, our export will be, delayed because there's standardization, there's digitalization, which we are not, rising up to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And yes, Dr. John Isemede, 1 minute, please.
Yeah, thank you, Lady K. That even with 1 minute, we'll be able to give you the A to Z of the way forward. First and foremost, I want to beg the incoming administration that production should be the core of our thinking. Those of us who are talking today, we are talking because we were exporting. Where are the younger ones not? Borrowing will not take us anywhere. Debt will not take us anywhere. We should equally work on the inflows, diaspora remittances, like what the Indians and all the Chinese are doing in this country. Training is important. My friend Sidi Ali was in charge of most of these policies. Multilateral, bilateral, plurilateral. How many young exporters know what it is? It's a cultural issue. That you say you are an exporter in a meeting, people will ask you, what can we see what TATRIG please for exporters to travel for exhibition and order, which you can tell the incoming administration, put us as part of you. We are the one bringing in the forex, not people who are waiting for 2027. Finally, in other countries of the world that I have visited or worked, priority is given to the SMEs. But here, CBA and other will come up with policies supporting the multinational organization. I can tell you based on experience that no multinational organization in this country is interested in export. They are only interested in the local market of over 200 million. A very good example was when I was in Cotonou. We were looking for malt drink because we have more than 50,000 Nigerian students. They said that is not their territory. Finally, I can volunteer to help people like the way Boyede is doing on export costing. They are 25 in my books. But the last presentation I made in Benin Republic, I gave 100 because the man who produces salt is different from the one who is into timber, furniture, and all that. We need to guide. We can't dodge away from production. We can't dodge away from value addition. We have to compete. As we are holding trade fair and trade medium, we could be looking at backward integration, import substitution. We cannot afford to be exporting crude, exporting wet, shea butter, cocoa. That is exporting poverty, exporting wet. We people will turn into 10 different things and bring it back to us. We cannot afford to be exporting wet and importing poverty in 2023. God bless you all.
Thank you so very much. I believe we have His Excellency back. Ida Ali, are you there? From South Africa? We had him back just now.
Yeah, I saw him just now.
Yeah.
So, well, it looks like technology is not supporting him. But just to latch on something that John just said right now.
Okay.
Multinational corporations in Nigeria, they are their own authorities. They come and it doesn't matter what policies that they are using, they come and then they take this in out. I believe that the incoming administration should be advised to compel multinational corporations to handhold a certain number, a given number of SMEs into the international market. It can be part of a deal that the incoming administration can work with them. Obasanjo worked out a deal with the textile, garment, and cotton sector in this country that I want you to deliver a certain, I think it was $2 or $20 billion of export proceeds. And if you do that, I will give you a separate bonus than the EEG. I think he even raised it to 40% as at that time. The incoming administration must recognize the capacity of the private sector, and in empowering the private sector also must be jealous about ensuring that the indigenous private sector is also handheld. The multinational corporations can take this up as part run it with part of their CSR budget. I think it is an important point. Thanks so much, John.
Thank you so very much. As we are rounding this up, I saw a comment on our platform now. It says, good evening. I may not pronounce your name properly, please apologize. I'm Egahide Patrick Oyekian, first and only professor of ceramic engineering in Nigeria since 1994. I've been leading Nigerian delegates to international ceramic exhibition and trade fair in Europe, USA, and this month, I'm leading delegates to China. All expenses paid for by my foreign partners. Currently, Nigeria imports of ceramic products is over $900 million, and this projected to reach $2.1 billion by 2025. Real estate is a viable sector in Nigeria, and this is a major consumer for ceramic products. We need to build the capacity for ceramic growth in Nigeria. I'm the CEO of Epina Technologies Limited. I'm ready to present a policy document for ceramic growth in Nigeria. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this meeting. Over to you, Femi Boyede. Any last comments? You were muted. Okay, and you heard what I read about...
Oh, sure, I'm reading it here. Yeah.
Yes, are you there, please? Patrick, I'm not pronouncing your name well, I apologize. Are you there? You want to say something?
I actually think he has already answered the question. Whatever paper or memorandum that you have that you want to submit, please send it to us via email. We will definitely help to make sure that it gets to the right quarters. TATRIG will do that for you.
Okay. And the information again is Femi Boyede Consulting, right? .com. Am I right, guys? The technical team, are you there?
Yes, that's correct.
FemiBoyede.com.
Sorry, I'm on now, and
Yes.
I want to thank the organizer of this forum and this Zoom meeting. I'm very happy to be a part of it. I want to mention that if we are ready to move Nigeria forward, we should consider certain things. I have been to Aso Rock 5 times under this current government to discuss ceramics, to make presentation. Nobody listened to me. I've been to all government agencies. Nobody listened to me. But I have foreign partners that are ready to come in and help to build the capacity in Nigeria. Unless government is ready to participate, we cannot grow this country, because Nigeria is having solid mineralized worth 1 trillion on the ground, and we are not using it. And what do you need to produce ceramics? Clay, feldspar, silica sand. They are valuable, but we do not have the capacity. There is no university running ceramic program in this country. I was trained by the federal government of Nigeria to read ceramic in the UK and in the US. And since then, I've been having international fellowship to move around to build the capacity for ceramics in other countries. They invite me to speak on ceramics in Africa. I think we should take ceramic into this program that we are going to recommend to the government so that we can move this country forward. We use ceramics in medicine, we use ceramic in transportation, we use ceramic electronics and communication. Without ceramics, we cannot have this Zoom. The phone you are having is having ceramic. The vehicle that brought you to that place you are staying now is having 50 ceramic components in it.
Thank you,
I
sir.
think we should concentrate on developing ceramic in this country.
Thank you.
Major 80% of all the ceramic industry are MSE. Please, thank you for this opportunity. I look forward to participating next time. As I already mentioned, I'm ready to contribute my quota to the development of this country. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. We really, really appreciate your final input. And as you know, we come up with some quotations sometimes. And this quotation is from Dwayne Johnson. He says, success isn't overnight. It's when every day you get a little better than the day before. It all adds up. So a journey of 1,000 years starts with one step. Thank you for this team for putting this together. I believe we will see again next month, all of you with your different perspectives.